This episode is produced with support from DBT Wellcome Trust India Alliance.
At Nature India podcast, we have had a lot of fun in the last few months, bringing to you some wonderful stories from very interesting and unusual workplaces of Indian scientists. We got a peek into their daily lives and walked with them as they graciously took us through their passionate and sometimes deeply emotional stories. Today's episode is a wrap up of sorts of I'm a Scientist and This Is Where I Work, a series we will miss producing for you immensely. In 9 episodes of this popular series, we hope we've been able to demystify the lives of scientists even if a wee bit. The public perception of science is a tad cliched, isn't it? Test tubes, rockets, smelly labs, old men in their experiments. That's the perception, but that perception is changing fast, and we hope we did our little bit to clear some air around that. In this podcast series, we shadowed scientists working in unusual and unique settings in various disciplines of science, in so many different landscapes, from caves to tree canopies, from oceans to the Himalayas, from a drone lab to a baby speech lab, from wildlife sanctuaries to the deep recesses of human brain. I am Subhra Priyadarshini, and I've loved producing this series with Aroma Warsi, and we are reminiscing today about the fantastic run this series has had in the last 9 months. The kind of love our audiences have showered on us is truly humbling.
Absolutely, Shubhra. How different has this experience been? So enriching. For instance, think of the time we were at the drone lab in Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, with Sarita Ahlawat and her drones. We learned how the little flying machines go from the lab to the skies in perfect synchrony. Her workplace quite literally buzzed with ideas and cutting edge technology.
Very soon you will hear a drone buzzing around me. So one constant noise that you hear in our lab is the drone, small drones flying. We are testing them, calibrating them, getting them ready for the flight. So one of the drone is now flying near me, and what my colleague Sujit is doing is he's calibrating the system and is qualifying for the flight.
Sheer energy and excitement and passion. Sarita has had many successful drone shows since we spoke to her on our podcast. Now, these are high octane drone swarm shows creating breathtaking images in the night sky. And these have to adhere to the highest standards of security.
So we do not take chance. So what we have done as a security precaution, and it has taken us 1 year of coding. So we do something called geofencing. So we create a fence on each drone that it will stay only in a defined area. So let's say if I'm making a formation in Rashtrapati Bhavan, so I do not want my drone to cross and go meet Prime Minister, because then I will be in a lot of trouble. So what we did is we created a geo fence, and so if the drone, let's say some sensor has gone off, and now the drone is not listening to any of the commands that we have put in. Once it crosses the geo fence, the drone, the code what we have put on each drone is that it will commit a suicide. It will fall uh, as soon as it's tried to cross the geo fence.
How interesting. This series has really been about ambient noises, no? Helping us get the feel of these workplaces. Like when we traveled with behavioral ecologist Manjari Jain from ISER Mohali, trying to understand how birds communicate inside a noisy jungle.
When I entered the forest, it was just so noisy. There was a cacophony of sounds. My heart sank, but senses with respect, what you can hear, you're overloaded there. And I could hear crickets and frogs and all kinds of eerie sounds everywhere. And there were calls of civets, which it took me a very long time to figure out these are the calls of civets and lorises. which sound like shriek, like someone is shrieking inside the forest, which all, relate to the very conventional notion of a forest being an extremely dangerous place. And of course, I would get extremely scared listening to some kinds of sounds. But with some practice and with time in the forest, I got used to what each of these forest sounds actually mean.
Some might find these sounds petrifying, but for Manjari, there's method in this madness. To her, the cacophony offers important clues on avian communication.
And talking of communication, what could be more complex than to decipher the language of a small child with communication difficulties? Remember when we spoke to Shobha S. Meera, the speech language pathologist at Nimhans, Bengaluru, who works with such babies? She opened up her colorful and musical lab full of toys and songs for us to understand how parents of autistic children decode their language better.
So our labs are really very beautiful. They have nice, very nice pastel hues, very interesting cartoons painted. So it's very nice and very vibrant. Several times they bring back childhood memories to all of us who work there. And what we do in our labs is, if somebody just walks in, they will find toys. Anything that you want, anything that you think of, the child can play with. But actually, there is so much science there. Every toy there is actually a tool through which we evaluate a child's ability to understand, a child's ability to manipulate, a child's ability to build on it. So that's one of the things. The second thing we do is record the child's natural environment. So we have a recorder which, once switched on, will record the entire 16 hours of the baby, wherever the baby goes, whatever the baby hears, whatever the baby does. So once the recorder is returned to us, we then connect it to the computer, which has a specialized program, and it's called the Lena device and the Lena software. So this program, once we connect the recorder to the program gives us automatic counts of how many words the child has heard, or how many words did the parents talk, how many times the parents spoke and the child returned a response. So that it also gives us a count of how many times this to and fro activity happened. And that's called conversational turns. So we don't have large MRI equipments or big hoods or test tubes, but we surely have these very tiny recorders for our tiny humans, but it's very powerful and gives us so much insight.
Yes, such a cute episode with baby babble throughout. This one was clearly one of my absolute favorites. And from analyzing the brain to diving deep into the oceans, we had Sujit Ghosh from IISA Pune sharing his unique story of recovering from an unusual source, that is seawater, a record haul of uranium, the chemical that powers nuclear reactors and therefore is great news for an energy deficient planet.
Uranium will get collected there the way until scientists have tried for this application. Like we can put it in fiber and in a long thread, and we can dip it in sea for few months, and then we can extract after few months, and then uranium can be collected again and again. Okay, that means we can reuse it. That is one way. Another way, we can do it like near sea. We can pump lot of water and pass through this material, and it can capture uranium from seawater. I am very hopeful that this technology will work one day in real application. Then we can solve the problem of power by generating unlimited power using uranium as nuclear fuel from seawater.
Although English is the prominent language of science in India, some scientists we interviewed were equally at ease with communicating their science in Hindi. I was specially impressed by engineer and astrophotographer Dorji Angchuk, who opened up his observatory up in the higher altitudes of Leh. Dorji is an integral part of the Indian Astronomical Observatory in Hanley and took us on a magical journey of beautiful landscapes and serene night skies with his pictures.
लेह मनाली रोड से निकलेंगे जो मनाली डायरेक्शन की तरफ जाता है, तो वो 50 किलोमीटर तक जैसे पहुंचते हैं तो हमें डाइवर्जन लेफ्ट साइड से लेंगे। आगे बाकी 200 किलोमीटर हम हल्ले की तरफ सिंधु नदी के साथ साथ चलते रहेंगे। बीच में हमें हॉट स्प्रिंग छुमातंग हॉट स्प्रिंग दिखने के लिए मिल जाता है। जो ऑब्जर्वेटरी जो एरिया है वो फ्लैटलैंड है। हमें सबसे पहला जो दृश्य दिखता है वो हल्लेगोंपा का है, जो तकरीबन 500 वर्ष पुराना है। दूसरा सुंदर दृश्य जो दिखता है वो हमारा ऑब्जर्वेटरी का है। लद्दाख जो है बहुत ही सुंदर है, तो उसके साथ अगर तारों का भी दृश्य देख सकते हैं, उसको हम नाइटस्केप बोलते हैं। नाइट प्लस लैंडस्केप, तो उसको नाइटस्केप बोलते हैं। में हम तारों को और अपने लैंड को एक साथ दिखाते हैं।
And Abhitamim Vanak, animal ecologist and conservation biologist, who spoke about his research on interactions between domestic animals, wildlife, and humans. Abhi, in fact, reasoned some of his controversial remarks on why we shouldn't feed dogs or plant trees without much thought.
हाँ, तो ये थोड़ा कंट्रोवर्शियल ऑब्वियसली है, क्योंकि लोगों को कहता है कैसे किस्म के इंसान हो, सिर्फ खाना खिलाने से उसकी देखभाल नहीं होती है। कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ज़्यादा बढ़ता है ह्यूमंस और कुत्ते के बीच में, और उससे किसी का भी फायदा नहीं होता है। हर साल कितने सारे बच्चे मरते हैं कुत्तों के अटैक्स के कारण। हमारा ये कहना है कि कुत्तों को अगर आपको देखभाल करना है तो या तो आप अडॉप्ट कीजिए, या तो गवर्नमेंट को एक पॉलिसी करनी चाहिए उनको शेल्टर करने के लिए। बाकी सारे देशों में यही किया जाता है, लेकिन इंडिया सिर्फ एक ऐसी कंट्री है जहाँ पे उन्होंने एक स्पेशल कैटेगरी किया है, जहाँ कुत्तों को आप सिर्फ स्ट्रीट्स पे रखेंगे और वहीं पे खाना खिलाएंगे। तो ये गलत बात है, मेरा मानना है। स्टेरिलाइजेशन करने के लिए जो हमको फैसिलिटीज़ चाहिए और जो स्केल पे वो करना चाहिए, वो हम बिल्कुल अचीव नहीं कर पाते। जैसे जैसे थोड़ा हमने रिसर्च किया है, तब हमको पता चल रहा है कि सिर्फ ट्रीज प्लांट करने से कुछ नहीं होता है। गलत जगह पे गलत ट्री प्लांट करोगे तो उससे ज़्यादा नुकसान होगा। एक्चुअली हमारा पानी का प्रॉब्लम इंक्रीज होता है, क्योंकि ट्रीज को बहुत सारा पानी चाहिए। सवाना हैबिटेट्स में, जहाँ जैसे कि खुले ग्रासलैंड हैबिटेट्स है, वहाँ पे ट्रीज प्लांट करेंगे तो एक तो वो ट्रीज जो सैपलिंग्स है उनका सर्वाइवल रेट कम होता है, और दूसरा है कि जो ग्रासलैंड्स है वही नेचुरल हैबिटेट है, उसके ऊपर बहुत सारे डिपेंडेंट स्पीसीज है, तो हम फिर ग्रासलैंड हैबिटेट को भी खराब कर रहे हैं, डिस्ट्रॉय कर रहे हैं। तो इसलिए हम कहते हैं कि अगर आपको ट्रीज प्लांट करना है तो फॉलो द 4 R's। 4 R मतलब राइट ट्री, राइट प्लेस, राइट रीजन एंड राइट सीजन।
All these scientists had such diverse and interesting workplaces, but none scarier than the Bhaskars, cave geomicrobiologists. Sushmita and Ramanathan Bhaskar, the couple exploring subterranean caves to look for signatures that might help better define the Earth's past and future. Actually, set out some really neat couple goals for scientists couples.
It provides us moral and professional support, and it boosts both of us professionally. And then if you have your spouse as your co-worker, then she will be honest with you, and she knows your strength and limitation. She can criticize you. 2 heads are better than 1, and we use the power of teamwork to put larger ideas into action. No doubt, throughout the journey, it is friendship and companionship. In fact, I am reminded of Henry Ford's quote, "Coming together is beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success." Of course, there are some 1 or 2 disadvantages, in the sense that you need to set boundaries at work as well as at home. Then you need to prioritize your task and divide them almost so that no partner is overburdened because of the work.
Sometimes when we are writing a paper, it goes up even up to 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. in the morning, and we don't realize that it is morning. But basically, life has been really good, and I'm grateful to the Almighty that I have a partner who is able to understand, and we are able to research together in this exciting field.
Such beautiful synergy. Happiness in scientific pursuits, demanding precision, patience, and effort, giving shape to their research, beating all odds. This series was special also because we not just got a peek into the cutting edge research of these scientists, but also got to hear the humans behind them, the emotions that drive them.
हर बार जब मैं ड्रोन्स को उड़ते देखती हूँ कि हमने कुछ चेंज किया, तो उसमें इमेंस सेटिस्फैक्शन मिलती है और खुशी मिलती है कि हमने कुछ बनाया और वो उड़ गया। हमको इससे सबसे खुशी मिलती है कि एवरी सिंगल टाइम दिस मशीन इज डूइंग, जो हम उससे कराना चाह रहे हैं वो कर रही है, एंड नहीं कर रही है तो उस टाइम दुख होता है, पर करेक्शन करके फिर हम लोग जाते हैं और इसी से हमें हिम्मत भी मिलती है, इंस्पिरेशन भी मिलती है कि आप करते रहिए।
और मैं जब चाहता हूँ कि कहीं भी जाऊँ तो मैं अपने आँख बंद करता हूँ तो वहीं पे अपने आप को ट्रांसपोर्ट कर लेता हूँ, उसी खुले मैदान में जहाँ पे बहुत अच्छी घास हो, घास का कलर कोई भी हो, ग्रीन हो ब्राउन हो, मुझे नहीं फर्क पड़ता है, खुला आसमान और जो खुले विस्तार से वो बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं, वही मेरा फेवरेट हैबिटेट है।
My day, almost every day, ends with another medium of communication, dance, Indian classical dance, Bharatanatyam, and interacting with children in the evening through dance gives me a whole new perspective about communication and about children. Dancing, I would say, has been a very steady companion.
बहुत अच्छा समय गुजरा है मेरे लिए तो। अगर हानले डार्क स्काई रिजर्व अच्छी तरह से चले तो वो काफी सेटिस्फाइंग रहेगा, और चाहत तो ये है कि हर जगह और भी डार्क स्काई रिजर्व सेंचुरी बने, जो हमारे पूर्वज जिसको एक्सपीरियंस और एंजॉय करते हैं सब लोग अभी भी करें, तो वो मेरी मोटिवेशन अभी लाइफ में।
Working with the natural sound was something that gave me pleasure all along, and it was not a difficult decision for me. It's a marathon and not a sprint.
And that explains basically why we are going to miss producing this series so much. But of course, all good things must come to an end.
And of course, an exciting new season also awaits us. And I can only tell you that it's going to be on an equally exciting new topic. So stay tuned. This is Subhra Priyadarshini.
And this is Aroma Warsi, wrapping up the I Am a Scientist and This Is Where I Work series.
And though you know exactly where to find us, just letting you know once more, we are on Acast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and you could even subscribe to our RSS feed. Till the next season, keep listening to us at the Nature India podcast.
This episode was produced with support from DBT Wellcome Trust India Alliance.